Hey everybody, welcome to my channel for yet another video. In today's video, we'll be talking about how can you make your presentations attractive. And the tips that I'll be sharing today are not just effective, but also easy enough for you to follow along, even if you're a beginner. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. So tip number one is to make a good title slide. A title slide is your first slide of your presentation. It is usually the slide that is put up on the screen and viewed by your audience even before you begin with your presentation. The typical contents of a title slide include the title of the presentation, as the name suggests. In some cases, the branding or the company name, even a company logo. Sometimes the date of the presentation or even the name of the person who will be presenting. Since this slide doesn't have any useful information for the audience, people often tend to ignore this slide. But here's the best part. If you can make this slide attractive, you can actually leverage a great opportunity to make a good first impression. The easiest way to make an attractive title slide is to make use of PowerPoint's design ideas. The design ideas function, or otherwise also known as the designer in PowerPoint, is basically a tool that provides you with multiple layouts and design options to choose from automatically and instantly based on the content that is already present on your slide. If you're not familiar with the PowerPoint's design ideas function, make sure that you subscribe to this channel, as I'll be creating a very helpful video on that tool. I'll also leave a link to that video in the top right corner of your screen. If you're not using PowerPoint, or if you do not have the functionality of design ideas in your PowerPoint, there are a number of other simple methods in which you can create an attractive slide. One method is by simply using shapes. Shapes are available in all versions of PowerPoint and other presentation softwares. And by using shapes creatively, you can easily transform a simple looking slide into an attractive title slide. Another way is using images on your slide and overlaying the text on top of the images to give a very impressive look. My favorite method though to creating an attractive title slide is using images in combination of shapes and text. In these examples, you can see how simply we have created an attractive looking title slide. If you're interested in knowing how we design the slides that I just showed you, make sure you check out our other video in which we teach you how to work with shapes and images together. I'll leave a link to that video in the description box below and also to the top right corner of your screen. Moving on to tip number 2. When choosing colors, stick to the basics. One of the most common mistakes that many of us make is choosing too many colors for your presentation or choosing a wrong color combination. As a rule of thumb, I highly recommend sticking to 2 or 3 colors at max. An easy way to choose colors would be to go with the colors of your brand or the brand of your company. Make sure that you incorporate those colors in your presentation as well. If, however, you do not have a brand color and you still need to go with more color options, my recommendation would be to go with a monochromatic color scheme. If you don't know what that is, it is basically a set of colors that are variations of a single color. You cannot go wrong with monochromatic color scheme. Furthermore, if you want to go with multiple colors, go with a complementary color scheme. Using a complementary color scheme makes sure that you avoid the mistakes made by the designer on this slide. Notice how the text on this slide is simply unreadable. A quick way to fix this would be by using dark color on light backgrounds and lighter color on dark backgrounds. The next tip is using contrast on your presentation. Using contrast selectively on your slides can make sure that your presentation stands out by breaking the monotony. In this example, notice how the designer has judiciously created contrast by using blue text on the white background, and white text on the blue background. Also, by using blue background on part of a slide rather than the complete slide, highlights that section of the slide appropriately. Another way of introducing contrast is by using it in section break slides. For example, a slide like this, when added in an array of slides with a white background, can easily introduce contrast and help break the monotony. Tip number 4 is choosing the right fonts. So there are basically two main types of fonts, serif and sans serif. Serif fonts are those that have strokes attached at the end of each letter. Sans serif, on the other hand, do not have strokes attached at the end of each letter. Each font has its own characteristics, and while choosing just the right font is an art in itself, but you cannot go wrong if you choose the tried and tested fonts. I prefer to use sans serif fonts in my presentations simply because they give a modern look and feel to the presentation. But that's just a personal choice. There is no right or wrong here. If you prefer to use serif fonts, my recommendation would be to go with Times New Roman, as it is a tried and tested font. If, however, you prefer to use serif fonts, my personal favorites are Montserrat, Roboto, Arial, and Calibri. No matter which font you use, make sure that you keep the following basic things in mind. As a beginner, make sure that you use just one font in the whole presentation. It's completely okay to use multiple fonts, but you really need to be an expert to know how to use it correctly. Another thing to keep in mind is using the bold fonts selectively. If you're bolding a lot of content on your slide, then using the bold typeface completely defeats its purpose. The other thing that I would recommend is choosing the right font size for your presentation. If you're making a presentation for a large audience, make sure that you use a font size that is no less than 30 points. If, however, your presentation is supposed to be sent over email or is expected to be viewed on screen, a 16 or an 18 point size is completely fine. That works well even for small meetings of 4 to 5 people. Lastly, choose standard fonts for your presentation. And what I mean by that is choosing fonts that come pre-installed with your Microsoft Office or any other software that you're using to create your presentation. You don't want to be in a situation where you spent hours creating a presentation and when you finally send it to your client, he's unable to view the way you designed it simply because they do not have the fonts that you used in your presentation. An easy fix to this problem would be using the fonts that are tried and tested, such as Calibri, Arial, Times New Roman, and so on and so forth. Tip number 5 is using images in your presentation. I cannot stress on how important it is to use images in your presentation. It not only breaks the monotony, but also enhances the overall look and feel of your presentation. Using images in your presentation also helps your audience retain the information better, because it is easier to relate to the content when it is coupled with relatable images. But make sure that you don't use images on every single slide. While there is no fixed methodology on which slides you should be using images and slides that you should not be using images for, but here's a good indicative list of the types of slides on which you can use images. A title slide is a great example of a slide on which you can use images. We've already seen as an example in an earlier part of our video. Another example of using images on a slide is when you're showcasing or talking about your product. Your client slide or the partnership slide is also a great example of how you could use images on your slides. Instead of just mentioning a list of clients that your organization has worked with, it's great if you can visually represent it using the logo of the organizations that you've worked with before. So there are plenty of options where you can use images on your slides. While there is no limitation on where you can use images in your presentation, when using images, just make sure of some of the below points. Make sure that you have the right to using the images in your presentation. An easy way to find free images for your PowerPoint presentation is by using the PowerPoint's inbuilt online pictures option. Simply go to the Insert tab and click on Pictures. From the drop-down, choose Online Pictures. If you're looking for free images, another great resource could be unsplash.com. There are a number of other websites where you can find great high quality, high resolution images completely free of cost. The other thing that you should make sure is you're using relevant images. You do not want to end up in a situation where the images don't even relate to the text. Also, if the images are not fitting onto the slide as you would wish, don't change the aspect ratio of the images. Make sure that you stretch the images correctly. Lastly, don't use images that are pixelated. That's definitely not a good experience for your audience. So the tip number 6 is stop using bullet points. This is such a cool tip. I'm really excited to share this because if you follow this tip alone, I can assure you that your presentation designs will be better than at least 50% of the presentations that are created every single day. The problem is that most of us learned creating presentations about 10-15 years ago. And back then, adding bullet points was the in thing. But presentation softwares and designs have evolved. However, our skills have not. So what should you do? Well, as it turns out, there are a few easy things that you can implement on your presentation designs. And I'm going to talk about 3 things that I recommend. One of the easiest ways you can replace bullet points on your presentation is by using SmartArt. Using SmartArt is quick, it's simple, and it's directly available in PowerPoint, and you don't even need any great skills for using SmartArt. Notice how we can easily turn this basic looking information into a much better looking slide by simply using SmartArt and a few tweaks to our content. Another thing that you can do to replace bullet points in your presentation is use icons. Finding an icon in your presentation is very easy. Simply go to the Insert tab of your presentation file, then click on Icon, search for the icon that you want to insert, select it, and simply click Insert. Another great resource for using icons is flaticons.com. I'll leave a link for that in the description below as well. The last thing that you can do to replace bullet points in your presentation is use infographics. Although infographics look great on a presentation slide, creating an infographic requires you to have a fair bit of design knowledge. Thus, I recommend using infographics for advanced users, but if there is enough interest, I'll make another video on how you could use infographics in your presentation. Make sure that you drop a comment below. But for now, I hope you can easily replace the bullet points by the other 2 methods that I've mentioned. Alright, so that's it from my end for this video. I've shared with you 6 tips that will make your presentation attractive. They are easy to implement. Make sure that you use them for your next presentation. And if you've learned something new, please like this video. And if this is the kind of content that you like watching, make sure that you subscribe to this channel and click on the bell icon so that you will be notified every time we come out with a new video. For now, this is Shroth signing off from Art of Presentations, and I'll see you next time on my next video.